welcome back to Off the Map. What's going on, everybody? Here's another edition of my show here. So, yeah, welcome back. Always like, share, subscribe, comment. That really helps out with getting it out to people because I think this is a good message that everybody needs to hear. But I'm back in the United States, my home country, and just a few observations about my experience from coming back from Colombia and getting back here and things that I've noticed. Number one, tension, right? As soon as I get back into the United States, I can feel the tension. Before I even get out of customs, I can feel the tension with the customs agent. But I'm so glad I have global entry because it makes it a lot easier to go in and out of the country. But man, the agent that was taking people in on global entry was just really aggressive and just seemed like he just did not want to be there. And so that's just immediately upon coming in, it's just everything just changes. There's just a tension that there's just constantly present in this country, and it doesn't feel that great. But I will say, if you're traveling out of the country, one time of year or once a year for the next 5 years, get global entry. It's going to save you a lot of heartache and a lot of stress. Trust me, my flight was delayed about an hour and a half. In Medellin, I had a 2.5 hour layover in Houston. And so when I finally got to Houston, I only had about, less than an hour to get to my next flight. And between landing in Houston, going through customs, and then going back through the security checkpoint, that took all of 20 minutes. So I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't stressed at all. And that's the type of, peace of mind that global entry provides. So if you can do it, it comes with TSA pre-check too. So when you're traveling domestically, you don't have to worry about the security line. You don't have to take out your belt. You don't have to go through the wave scan machine. You don't have to do all that. You can keep your laptop in the bag. You keep your hat on. You keep your jacket on. This is a lot of perks and benefits to having pre-check and global entry. So get global entry. Also, if you're traveling across the border on land crossings, like in Tijuana or Canada, global entry is huge there because you can skip the line. I don't know about you, but I've been to Tijuana without global entry, and the line to get across the border could be over a mile long. So doing that in the heat, no bathroom breaks, no food, no water, it's going to save you a lot of heartache and stress. So get global entry. Even if you're just traveling out of the country once a year, you should be doing that all the time, more than that. But yeah, even if you're just traveling the country once a year, global entry is well worth it. So get that. But yeah, the tension, I can even feel it in my neck right now. I've been back in the country, about a week now, 2 weeks now. And man, I just, I need to already take another vacation. So that's something I immediately noticed, before I was leaving for Colombia, I had, all the news. The news was Iran is going to, we're in World War III now, and, Iran this, and when I get back, it's the big, beautiful bill, and it's Epstein, and I was only gone for a week. And it's just so, how quickly the news cycle changes. It's insane, and just being away from that, being outside of that, it gave me a chance to just relax, reset. And it was really much needed because there is a constant pressure, a constant tension that we feel here with how they present the news to us and how, they want to make us feel. And it seems like they want a fearful population because, people who are afraid are actually, they're easier to control. So that was a good break just to get away from that. And then when you come back and you're like this and that, it's just like, okay, I'm back in it again. And it just, something else. Also, I noticed while I was in Colombia, and I noticed when I got back here, there's just a different pace to life. And I had to make an adjustment when I was in Colombia. People move slower out there. It's just a more relaxed pace to life. And I found myself being like, come on, like, why aren't we on time? Why don't we, a regimen, why aren't we doing this, doing that? We need, and people was like, relax, like we're going to get there, And so I had to kind of like change my mindset. And when I get back here to the United States, I'm relaxed. And now I got to get back into that different, more regimen, more time kept, and it's just, yeah, it's just different. So you got to go out, experience that, and all those things. The organized chaos I experienced in Colombia, it's amazing how things manage to function there. And when you're coming from outside, especially coming from the United States, you're like, oh man, this is chaotic, but it works. It works. It's relaxed if you allow yourself to be fully immersed into the culture, into the environment. I do want to start off by just kind of saying, I'm not an influencer. I'm definitely not an influencer. I guess I have influential things to say, but I am not an influencer with no substance, okay? Because I feel like a lot of these influencers have no substance or depth. They're making millions of dollars, and they provide pretty much nothing. I consider myself a pioneer, right? I'm going out and experiencing things, going through the trouble so you don't have to. And if you follow, you go off the map, that trouble is going to, or the difficulties, the strife that you might experience from going off the map, doing things that not everybody's doing, it's going to make you a pioneer too. And you can go off the map. You can be that person that says, hey, go here. People say it's dangerous. People say you shouldn't go there. But you've been there and you know what to do. You know what to expect. You know what to experience. So go off the map and do that for sure. And this is not a political channel, even though, everything in this country seems to be political. This is not a political channel. So just want to get that out there. And it doesn't matter what you've been through, because everybody goes through something. It doesn't matter what you've been through. You are defined by what you overcome, right? So, you can get knocked down, but you always get up, because, wow, this person's been through this and they overcame that. And that's what people are going to remember you for. So remember, don't stay down, get up and do your thing. But yeah, just some of my observations about being back in the United States. This is my home country. I love this place. I born and raised here. Family goes back generations, and generations, part of the legacy that built this country. So, I never want to abandon the United States, but the United States is not everything. It's not the end all be all. So go out there, experience the world, and do your thing. And, one thing I do kind of think we should be improving on as a nation is minding our business. Okay? Not enough of us mind our business, from our foreign policy, or it's not a political channel, our foreign policy to personal interactions. Okay. I was just out, not bothering anybody, and somebody it seems like you're in a space, especially being a black man in America, you're in a space that people don't normally see black people in. And they try to give you unsolicited advice, and you should be doing this and don't do that. And it's like, why don't you say hi first? Why don't you introduce yourself and see how I'm doing before you start telling me things that I don't need to hear? If I'm not bothering you, if I'm not hurting somebody, what does it matter to you who I am? If you don't even want to say hi, if you don't want to see how I'm doing, or, any of that, then what makes you think I want to hear unsolicited advice from you? And that goes from anybody. Okay. So start off before you start, just first off, mind your business. That's first. Second off, if you can't help yourself, introduce yourself. Say hi. See how you're doing. See what the people are about before you start telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing. Okay, I noticed that a lot about the interactions I have. I don't know if it's just because it's me or what, because I like going to places that we're going off the map. So I like doing that, but that's what I notice a lot when I'm back in the United States. People giving you unsolicited advice. Colombia, if you're not bothering anybody, if you're not hurting anybody, then nobody's bothering you, right? If you're minding your business, everybody else is going to be minding their business too. People will come up to you and say hi and hello, and that's the first thing they'll say. How are you doing? Things like that, and then they say God bless you, and be on your way. But for the most part, people are not giving you unsolicited advice or telling you to do this and telling you not to do that just because you're in a space that they don't normally see you in. Okay, so that's another thing I noticed. But since we're off the map, we're a country of so much wealth materially and with resources, and the work culture is way more hard or regimen than it is in other places, right? With all this wealth, with all this resources, I feel like we should be the ultimate leisure country. I mean, we have so many vast natural resources between our rivers and lakes and oceans and mountains and deserts and all kinds of things you can visit, but we're working. I just saw in Germany, it is required that it's against the law for anybody to work outside of natural light for more than 4 hours. And so they design their buildings so that people have natural light coming in all the time. They design their areas for people to be, to get fresh air and sunlight. These are some of the basic things that we need as human beings, fresh air and sunlight. And so that really I was like, wow, that's an interesting concept that you have to put that in law, or else, you could be exploited. And Germany or Europe, how they, they take the holiday, right? We get 2 weeks of vacation a year here if you have a typical job, but there, they get a month, 2 months, and that's just normal. Right. So I think here we gotta normalize our leisure time. We gotta normalize being a country of leisure and not just one where we're gonna work hard and play hard, and it's like, well, overindulging, over drinking and consuming drugs. That's what we're number one at, right? Consumption. But leisure. Let's focus on that leisure. And another thing I noticed, I'm just going to keep going here. Another thing that I noticed is that just the way our cities are designed here in the United States, our infrastructure is very individualized, right? As soon as I get here, you look around and get in your car because you have to drive in California. You might as well not have legs if you don't have a car. But what are most people driving? They're driving these big cars, and doesn't matter if it's electric or gas powered, but mostly they're driving by themselves. So each and every person has their own personal vehicle for the most part to move around. Infrastructure that's designed for people to move around inefficiently in their personal vehicles. I know it's comfortable. I know you want to have your music, you want to have your proper temperature control, your podcast, your audio book. But that's taking us away from the community that we need, that we actually should be going back to, in my personal opinion. But, that's what makes this channel what it is. We're off the map. And another thing just to think about all the material and resource wealth we have here, it makes us comfortable. There is really no growth in comfort, right? You really have to make yourself uncomfortable to see how you react to things in order to grow. And it's like that all throughout life, right? If you're exercising, if you want to take yourself to a new level, you got to push yourself, whether it's lifting heavier weights or running that extra mile or running harder or faster, these things are going to help you, albeit they're uncomfortable. They're going to help you reach those new heights of growth. And I notice here that maybe it's all over the place too, but we'd rather, as a people, believe a comfortable lie than to accept the uncomfortable truth. And we allow ourselves to be caught in these cycles of, things that don't serve us because they're comfortable. I don't want to get into the politics thing, but come on, we've got way too comfortable with the system that we have. And they've been lying to us. Everybody. So if you're tired of that, and it's not just a political thing, it's almost in every facet of life, right? At some point you realize that, we've been being lied to. And I know it's kind of shameful or it's uncomfortable to be like, finally take that head on, like, okay, that's a lie, I'm tired of being lied to. Then to just keep on going with it and say, the truth is not too uncomfortable for me to reject this comfortable lie. And one thing that you begin to realize when you start looking at all these things is that we have money to pay for everything. We plain and simple, we have money to pay for everything. And when you think about, as soon as I got back, we're talking about the debt ceiling, right? And taxes and things like that. And these are actually fake. These are actually tools that are used to keep us trapped in a limited mindset when the possibilities are actually limitless. And don't get me wrong, when I say, these things are fake, like the debt ceiling and taxes and all those things, I mean, they're real. I mean, I pay taxes and I have debts, but the thing is that, ever since the Fed has taken over our currency and has, been allowed to just print our currency, like insane amounts of our currency, since they've been in existence and taken over that aspect of our wealth, currency, the dollar has lost 96% of its value. 96% of its value. So if you have cash, if you have money in the bank, these things are ultimately worthless. It's fake. And that's what I mean by it being fake. Yes, it has value because the next person believes it has a certain value. But as you know, from inflation and shrinkflation, have you been noticed you're paying more for less? These things are taken away from the value of your dollar. So if you have money, and in my other video, I said invest in yourself. If you have cash, the fake stuff, the paper, right? Use that. Take what is worthless and buy something that has value. What has value? Okay. Real estate has value. Life insurance has value. Stocks and bonds have value. Businesses have value. So that's what I mean when I say invest in yourself first. That's not working a job to get paid something that's worthless, right? That's working a job so you can use your earnings that you're getting to buy things that have value. So think about that when I say, the debt ceiling and taxes are actually fake, because we always come up with money to fund new wars, but we don't have money for certain things when it comes to helping. So just think about that. So you got to help yourself. You got to help yourself, and you got to invest in yourself first. And don't just earn this cash. Use that which is worthless and buy something of value with it. Because if you're gonna take something that's worthless and give me something of value, I'm gonna take it every 10 out of 10 times. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about by going off the map. I've been growing up taught you better get a good job with good benefits, and that's great, and that's helped me immensely in my life. But that second step of taking what I am being given from my blood, sweat, and tears and my life energy, taking that and investing in things that have value. And another thing that's fake, what I noticed when I got back from Colombia, is the food. That's one of the first things, besides the tension I'm feeling now in my neck, is the food. It's crazy how the first meal I've got back here, it was just like, oh, this chicken tastes weird. The rice isn't the same. The noodles, I had Chinese food. The noodles were off, and it hurt my stomach. My body has gotten used to the food, the natural food, in other places. And you come to the United States, and it's like, it's just injected and pumped up with all this junk that you don't need. And that's fake too. And so, yeah, we're in interesting times for sure. Wow. Yeah, the food thing. The food thing is huge. And that is also a part of investing in yourself too, is investing in what's going into your body, what's providing you your life energy. So when you reject those comfortable lies and start accepting the uncomfortable truth, that's when we can start moving in a different direction. And that's going to take us going off the map, y'all, and doing things differently. So few of my thoughts for today, and my trip from Colombia coming back to the United States, just some of the things that I've noticed. And, just really hope this did something for you. And we're going to keep going off the map. I got some more content to share with y'all. Yeah, as always, keep going off the map. Keep doing your best and being your best. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see y'all soon. All right, everyone.
I'm just trying to make sure I live life to the fullest. And if someone's shooting at me, I'm trying to dodge a bullet. I still thank God for all my blessings and my ability to turn these losses to lessons. I'm proud of my accomplishments and all my successes. I'm so far ahead now, they ain't gonna catch us. Life can end at the blink of a moment, so every decision you gotta live with it and own it.